going on, everybody? What's happening? So far, man. So far. Yep. Yeah. I checked it out yesterday afternoon. It's a good movie. Like I said, we were talking about before. It wasn't exactly what I was expecting, but from what I kind of figured they were doing, when I sat back thought about it after the movie, they really nailed it. For what they were going for. I'm probably going to go again tonight. Check it out again, and maybe hopefully have something written up by tomorrow. I'd, I would definitely say so. Yeah. The one thing I'll say about it is you got to go in not necessarily looking for a 100% solid Superman superhero movie. I don't want to go in thinking having that in your mind, like they said, that it's going to be like a John Hughes movie. If you go in with that thought mixed with I keep saying Superman superhero movie, you'll get what's going on. And you'll enjoy it a lot more. Well, that's what they give you for sure. I think if that's what you're looking for, then you're going to love it more than I did. Yeah, sounds good. Okay. Okay. Yep. Well, and don't forget, Punisher's coming out. I think in November also. So we got two more shows this year. Yep. Yeah, Punisher's scheduled. I think I want to say it's right after Ragnarok comes out, something like that. It's scheduled towards the end of the year for this year. So we'll get two more Netflix series this year, and then they'll go into everything else for next year. Um, but it's gonna be kind of curious to see how they put those in because I know there was I don't remember it as well from the comics back then, but I know there were kind of two iterations of Bushmaster. There was the one that was kind of the one you were kind of saying was like prison. He had some of the stuff on Cage, um, and he ended up going through like the same similar thing that gave Cage his powers, only his kind of had a weird outcome. Like in the comics, like something weird happened, and he had the same kind of invulnerability and stuff that Cage had, but then all of a sudden his body started to turn into like solid metal, and like it started to like work against him. So he tried to get the whole thing fixed, and then he ended up just turned into a solid statue of metal or some weird thing like that. And there was the second one, like you said, that had the snake body that was part of the Serpent Society, which was more of a Captain America thing. So I'm wondering if they're going to go more towards the first iteration. Probably would make sense. Go more towards the first iteration because I can't look. First season of Luke Cage was more of a down to earth kind of thing outside of Cage himself with his abilities. So yeah, I don't see them bringing in a half snake guy for season two of Luke Cage. But hey, I loved season one, so whatever they want to do for season two, I'm all in. So it was Cottonmouth for the majority of the season, which if you haven't seen it yet, shame on you, but we won't say what happened. And then it was Diamondback. No, was Diamondback at the end. Yeah, it's Diamondback at the end. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. Well, and I guess they could be trying to lean towards some kind of a new Serpent Society, more of a human-based kind of thing. But you could, Defenders is basically going to be all about the hand, right? So when that's over, you're more or less going to need something new to move on to. So maybe they'll move on to some kind of new Serpent Society and have that be the new theme running through the other seasons. I can see that. Uh, Sony just doesn't. Or that's Fox, isn't it? Fantasy with Fox. They just don't. They don't get it. They, they really don't. I mean, look, they've had a couple big ones with you know Deadpool, obviously one of the best comic book movies we've ever seen, in my opinion. Logan, the last Wolverine movie, very good. First two were garbage, in my opinion. The last one was good, but they like until you get a solid foundation, which won't happen until the word Marvel's in front of the name, but until you get a solid foundation for Fantastic Four, you can't go to their children. Like people don't unless you're reading the comics, you don't know who the kids are. So I mean, I get it. We got to make the movie before so many years before it goes back to Marvel. At least that's what everybody says is the way how this all works, and I'm pretty sure that is what the deal is. But these companies throwing these movies together to get them out there just so they can save the rights. You're just making terrible movies when it comes right down to it. It's a it's a happy thing to see Daredevil and Ghost Rider and Blade and all those guys make their way back to Marvel. Because clearly with Daredevil, Marvel knows what they're doing. The TV shows were fantastic. Just figure out the deal. Call Sony and go, hey, how did you make it work for Spider-Man? Then call Marvel and go, okay, let's do that. And you'll finally get that good Fantastic Four movie people want to see. Finally get that Doctor Doom that I want to see. Not this crap they've given me in the last two movies, and actually, give me a solid Fantastic Four movie. you've got had three chances, and all three of them have been terrible. I mean, terrible movies. Nobody has liked them. Nobody has wanted to go see them. Nobody has wanted you to make another one. At some point, you have to look at it and go, "We don't get it. We either need help or we need to give up on it." They're just, for whatever reason, they're not willing to do that, and I don't understand. Yes. Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I think I honestly still hold to the fact that I think uh, Fox is going to watch what happens this weekend, watch how much money Spider-Man makes, which at this point I don't even know how much they brought in, but I know it's been a lot so far this weekend already. I think they're going to look at it and they go, maybe there's something to that. Finally give Fantastic Four back where it should be. Let Marvel have the reins. Add it in there in Phase 4, and just let things move forward. That's what I'm hoping. Oh, Brolin, Josh Brolin. Yep. Right. Right. And I don't know about the Kree because I know Kree was used on Agents of Shield, but I do know Fox owns the Skrulls, and that would be a huge one for Marvel to get. If they could somehow swing it where they could get the Fantastic Four and the Skrulls, or at least the ability to use them, it could open up a whole new realm. Like they could even consider doing that whole what's called Secret Empire, where Skrulls took over a whole boatload of heroes for X amount of years. They didn't know it till however many years later. That was kind of a cool little series. I know people didn't like it. Some people I did. Thought it was kind of interesting. Um, but I mean, again, my ultimate dream is to see Doctor Doom done properly. In an Iron Man type set of armor, not this things fused to his skin crap that they've done the last two times. They've just been so bad. Yes, yes. Or the millionaire playboy who just suddenly takes interest in going on a scientific trip, even though he really doesn't know anything about it. When Victor Von Doom is the second smartest man essentially in the entire Marvel universe, behind only Reed Richards, and it's just, what's his name? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know you're talking about, but I can't think of his name. Mm-mm. Nope. And all of a sudden you give him superpowers instead of giving him a suit of armor to fight with. Look, I know he knows how to use magic and the mystic arts and stuff. That's not what was in the first movie. It was garbage. So hopefully that's my dream. Like I've also said to you before, my dream is at the end of the next, not Infinity War, but whatever the next movie is going to be. For lack of better choice, Infinity War 2. The post credit scene is going to be them not knowing what happened to one of the Infinity Stones, and it pans to this dark gothic castle room with a focus on the gem, and the camera pans around, and there's Doom sitting in his throne, just staring with his, you know, hands crossed in front of his chest, staring down at the gem like he's studying it, trying to figure out what it is. Goes to black, and then you know what's coming in the next phase. That's what I want to see. I just don't. I don't. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen unless, like we said, Fox smartens up, sees how much money Spider-Man's going to make, and goes, "All right, we can make a fortune giving this to them and letting them do it right." So we'll see. Like that look of what the hell did you just say? And it's kind of a shame on one hand because you've landed a guy who's probably going to be a great Venom in oh my god, I just blanked on his name. Uh, Tom Holland. There, no, Holland is Spider Man. Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy is Venom. Yeah, he's probably going to be a great Venom. He's got the kind of look. You know, he's going to probably have the right kind of attitude for it. Was he the greatest as Bane? Probably not. But I think this will be a little bit more in his wheelhouse. Um, but it's a shame because he's a good, not only is he a good villain, but it's a good anti-hero at the same time. You know, so for later on down the road, you know, when Eddie Brock makes that turn in the comics where he basically becomes the anti-hero good guy, you know, Tom Hardy would be really good at all of that, putting that all together. Um, don't know if I like the fact because I think I remember reading. I could be wrong. But I think I remember reading that the villain for the Venom movie is supposed to be Carnage. I don't. I'm not a fan of that. Even if you do make the movie rated R, I'm not a fan of jumping right into that character because you still have to explain where the symbiote comes from. You're jumping right. First of all, you're jumping right into a Venom movie, which is fine, but you're going to have to spend time explaining symbiote comes from somewhere, takes over his body, and how he gets there. And then Carnage is born from that symbiote when Brock tries to break out of prison and scrapes his arm on the wall, and part of the symbiote sticks there. And then Cassidy, you know, whatever, was cut himself or cut himself somehow, and the symbiote gets in his bloodstream, and Carnage is born. Which, by the way, stop saying Jim Carrey is going to be a good Carnage to all you people who keep saying that, because he would be terrible. So shut your face. Anyway, too old and he's too corny. He wouldn't be very good at it. If you want an older actor who would be good at playing Carnage, you want what's his name who played uh from The Watchmen. God, I'm awful with actors' names today. He was in The Watchmen and he was in the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Um, yes, he played Freddy Krueger. He played Rorschach. Yes, thank you. I can't think of his Earl Haley, Jackie Earl Haley. He would be he would be very good. He would be very good as an old. If you're going to go with an older Cletus Cassidy serial killer Carnage, he would be really really good. I imagine they'll probably go someone a little bit younger, maybe with like because this kind of seems to be the way a lot of them are going. Particularly if they want to bring these characters back at another time, because you know some of these guys it's going to be rough to bring them back in a few years because they're a little bit older. Like you know, like spinning back Spider-Man. As much as I loved Michael Keaton in this movie, and I hope they do bring him back, it's going to be tougher because he's going to be a little older. You know, whatever 2019 or 2020, whenever the next Spider-Man movie is going to be. You know, it's going to be a little bit older. It might not be so easy to have, but I think if you're going to do Venom, you do a Venom movie. You hold off on Carnage till maybe Venom 2 if you're going to get that far. I don't know. I don't know. I just see if you try to jump right into it, it's gonna be tough to jump right into a Venom movie to begin with because anybody who follows the stories knows that Venom symbiote came from space from Spider-Man during the Secret Wars. Can you necessarily go that angle? Probably not, because trying to explain Secret Wars without actually doing it would be really, really hard. And I even doing Secret Wars would be really, really hard. It's a 12 comic run, for God's sake. So trying to squeeze it all into a movie and have it be good would be difficult. Plus the fact you don't have the X-Men, so you can't really do it justice. But I believe in the Ultimates universe, I think the Venom symbiote was created in a lab. If I remember right, I don't know if it was from space or not, or if it was something they created in a lab. I don't know exactly. I don't know too much about the Ultimates universe, but I think part of the basis behind it, no matter where you are, is that it starts with Spider-Man. It starts with Peter Parker. And it has to take him over. He has to reject it. It has to hate him and find somebody else who hates him just as much, and that's the two of them team up to try to kill Spider-Man. That's what Venom's based off. You're not going to have that, especially if you're not having it part of the MCU. Now it's Sony, so I think they could probably. Obviously, I don't know the inside of the deal. I would imagine they could probably still use Tom Holland in a Venom movie if they want to. But how weird is that going to be if they can bring him into Venom, but it's not part of the MCU? It's just a mess. I don't know how it's going to work. I want to see it because I love Tom Hardy and I do like the Venom character if it's done right. I just think jumping in with Carnage is going to be too much too soon, and who knows? We'll see. Plus, it's also Sony. When they do their own movies, they tend to not be very good as far as the superhero go. Right, right. Yeah, I'll give it a shot like I usually do. I mean, but I don't have high hopes for it right now. Put it that way. Put it that way. I did see that. I can see that. Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like that's what they're gunning for. That Spider-Man 2 is going to be the first kickoff for Phase 4. They're saying that his role in Infinity Wars is bigger than people are expecting, which is kind of funny because the last thing I read is they won't let him read the script for Infinity Wars just yet because they're afraid he's going to blab to people because he talks too much. So they kind of keep Holland a little bit out of the loop, which I guess is fine. I mean, look, he's a 20-year-old kid. He's playing what he said before is his dream role to be Spider-Man. Of course, he's going to be excited, and you can tell because he's just so good at it. The movie, he's so good in the movie as Parker and as Spider-Man. Like for me, it's the first time we've had somebody who was good at both. You know, McGuire was kind of a good Spider-Man, but not so great at Parker. Um, Garfield was kind of a good Spider-Man or a good Parker, but not so great as Spider-Man. Something that's just my opinion. I know people are going to tell me I'm wrong, but uh, Holland is just great at both. He's just perfect at both, as far as I'm concerned. So I think it's good that he's going to be the main focus. I'm okay with that. I mean, he's the if you look when you talk Marvel Comics, if you look at the history of the biggest name for all time for Marvel Comics, probably considered to be Spider-Man when it comes right down to it. Because Iron Man didn't hit his real popularity until the movies came out. The comic was big, but it wasn't, Spider-Man big. Captain America has always been Captain America, but it's still kind of that, Spider-Man kind of leans, kind of like DC is Batman, Marvel Spider-Man, as far as if you go out and poll 100 people and say, give me the first name of a superhero that pops into your mind, people are going to say Batman, people are going to say Superman. That's more common what you're going to see. So I think leaning on him take over is the way to do it. Plus the fact, again, kid's 20 years old. In 3 years, whatever it is, by the time that movie comes out, he's only going to be 23. So you got plenty of time. Yeah, right. Well, and I mean, and Downey's what 60 something, I think, at this point. So you're only going to get so many more movies out of him. I wouldn't be surprised to see him just kind of turn into more of a cameo kind of actor for a lot of these, kind of like what he did with Spider Man this week. He'll show up here and there, and that'll be pretty much it. But his name will be around all the time. The yeah, something like that. Which another news piece we could bring that up a little bit. Uh, Evans. The rumor is everywhere that Cap's not going to survive one of the next two Avengers movies. Really wouldn't be all that much of a surprise concerning the comics. If you never read the comics, spoiler alert: Cap dies once or twice. Of course, as is Marvel, he always comes back. But one of the main events of the Civil War comics was that he died. So that is thought that that's probably going to happen with these next two movies. And then either Sebastian Stan as Bucky will take over, or Anthony Mackie as Falcon will take over as Cap, like they did in the comics a couple times. Um, you know, if I'm giving a preference, I would say Stan, only because I'm not a big fan of Anthony Mackie. Um, but um, plus, I think of the two of them, if you watch the movies, I think Stan kind of fits the more athletic build as far as the fighting scenes and whatnot go. That would probably fit better for Cap. Just a personal opinion. Um, but it's more than likely that's going to happen. It's a shame because Evans he's been Captain America. He's been perfect. Like there's just I don't think there could have been anybody who would have done it better. He's been fantastic. And he said, right, exactly. But it's funny because you read one article where he says, yeah, I just really don't have this in me anymore. But you read another article 2 minutes later that says, oh, I'm going to do this till they tell me I can't do it anymore. And you don't know which one it is with him. If I'm going by my opinion of what I've seen from him, my guess would be he says, I'm gonna do this till they tell me I can't do it anymore because he just seems to really enjoy what he does. But you know, the thought that everybody keeps saying is more than one of these guys is not going to survive the next two movies, which wouldn't be surprising. Yep. Yeah. I could honestly see Stark becoming the voice of the armor for somebody else, or Downey. I should say Downey becoming the Jarvis for someone else taking over the mantle of Iron Man, kind of like what they're doing in the comics now. And that's they're kind of hinting around with that possibility in Spider-Man, um, that there may be another voiceover character being created. They don't directly hint it, but I don't want to say too much because you haven't seen it yet. People haven't seen it yet, but yeah, I'll leave it at that. There's a person whose voice is in the movie who could potentially become another character because of her relationship to another actor. I'll throw that out there, as confusing as that might sound. I'll throw that out there. Okay. On a Thursday. Wow. That's, yeah, it is. Okay. Yeah, and it definitely covers all those people. That's for sure. She can absorb sound and turn it into lasers. Essentially, is what it basically comes right down to. She can absorb any kind of sound around her and turn it into a laser show, or actually, shoot lasers from her hands and things like that. That's basically, from what I remember. I believe that's what it was. Um, but so they've been teasing Dazzler for a while. Um, the funny part is who they consider is the best possibility to play Dazzler. If and I laughing, I know who it is. Yeah, no, no, actually, the name I've heard, and look, I don't know if this is true, but I've seen it multiple places, people talking about it, is Taylor Swift. Yeah, because if you look at the old comics, she kind of has a very similar look to how that character was always drawn. And the girl can sing, which is kind of important because Dazzler was a musician, music star in the comics. Well, all right, if you say so. I mean, I can't, I'm just gonna let that one go. Um, I can't see it personally, and again, it could just be all the people blowing smoke because that happens all the time. It's always it's gonna be this person, and then it never is. But I've seen that in a bunch of places where people seem to think that that's where they're gonna lean, and that would be interesting. But again, I don't have any faith in their movies because the last couple, for me personally, the last couple Fox X Men movies have just been awful. And I'm talking X Men. I'm not talking like Logan and blah 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 blah. Just the X Men movies have just not been good. So right. And I didn't even like First Class. So many lazy things in Days of Future Past for me. Yeah. Oh my god. It was just not good. It's a shame because some of the actors were good, some of them weren't. But like the girl who played Storm, I thought was great. She had the perfect look. She was really good. I thought the kid who played Cyclops was terrible. Um, I don't know. I have so many issues with that movie. They do. They really do. they've really the movies, and again, all my opinion, but in the movies they've really kind of made him this little sissy, you know, pushover of a character, except for certain points, obviously he comes forward, but for the most part, he's really they make him this introverted sissy character, and he's been one of the stronger characters they've written for years. Being in charge of the X Men, being a leader, and being very strong about what he does. And I just don't. I'm just never again Fox. That's all. So I don't know that I would be going out of my way to see anything else they do as far as the X Men are concerned. You know, Deadpool, yes. Uh, Obviously, there's not going to be any more Hugh Jackman Wolverine movies, so I don't have to worry about those. But they just haven't proven to me that they can do anything else consistently that's going to be worth going to see. Okay. Yeah. Yes, he is. Love it. From what I've read, he's been the same way. He's been saying the same stuff. Like, oh, I don't. You ask me, he's like, I don't know. Yeah, I did see that. It was funny. But, I mean, I would be too. Well, yeah, at the very, very beginning to try to get ratings. Yeah, I mean, it's like he's the one who put the Avengers together. I mean, that's what it was. So it kind of felt like it was a little too easy to kind of push him out of the way. Not maybe not so much push him out of the way, but not make sure to include him constantly in everything you do moving forward in some way, shape, or form. So that he's still around. It just seemed a little odd to me. I get it that after Civil War he's supposed to go into hiding, or Winter Soldier he's supposed to go into hiding, and because they think he's dead and blah blah blah. But you know, Nick Fury, he's got ways of staying in hiding where nobody can find him ever. You know what I mean? So it's, I'm surprised that he hasn't shown up more. But now he's coming back and being Captain Marvel, so that'll be awesome. You would have thought, yeah, that would be nice to see him, at least start coming back and making some, because in the Ultimates universe, he's basically the one who helps Parker along, as far as I remember. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of the one who leads him around and gets him going. But yeah, I guess they just wanted to go. I mean, look, using Stark makes sense also. Makes perfect sense. Yeah, I mean, it would. I agree because it does make the better, like you said, straight man kind of Joker. You can't really have that with Tony because that's who Tony is. He's the jokester, the comedic kind of kind of side to that. Um, Now they do kind of use Happy a little bit as a straight man, um, but it's Happy. There's some funny stuff that goes on with him in the movie too. You'll see most of that, but it's a different dynamic, I think, when you've got Fury as opposed to Stark. Now, I guess a lot of it is, as much as they say they're trying not to cross over the TV shows and the movies, technically there is no Shield. Well, I guess there is kind of now in Age of Shield, but whatever Shield exists in the Age of Shield movie or Age of Shield show, they supposedly don't know that Fury's still alive. So it would be hard to have him, integrated as part of Shield and bring, Spider-Man in and all that stuff. So I get it. I get it. Using Stark's more high profile makes more sense. He's, the Avengers leader and whatnot at this point. Patty Jenkins, that's correct. Yep. Yeah. Oh, no doubt. Which is smart. Right. And they must have backed up a Brinks truck to Joss Whedon because after everything from after Age of Ultron, I was pretty sure he was never going to do another superhero franchise type stuff again. For all the hell he took for no reason, really. Um, for Age of Ultron over, a line that didn't even bother the actress who was saying it. So I don't, I don't understand it. I'm sure I'm going to get yelled at for, mansplaining it away in some way, shape, or form, whatever. Um, you know, but look, if anybody should have had an issue with the line the way it came out, probably would have been the actress who was saying it. And knowing Scarlett Johansson, as I've seen from things of her in public, pretty sure she would have been okay with saying she had a problem with the line. So get over it. It was fine. Anyway, but I think with him, I've always liked Joss Whedon. I didn't watch Buffy, but I'm one of the Firefly lovers. Who have always been you know upset that it only made one season because it was just such a good show, well done show. But I know the guy knows what he's doing. Um, you know, taking on Batgirl, I thought was brave enough. Again, after all the Ultron stuff and all the feminist agenda that attacked him, um, but then stepping up and saying, I'll. And you get why he did, obviously. If you don't know what happened with Zack Snyder's family, you should go ahead and take a look it up. It's tragic, awful thing you would never want to happen to anybody. So it made perfect sense that the man died. And it makes perfect sense that Whedon would say, "Hey, no problem. I'll step in and finish it up for you." Um, you have to have a little bit of a concern as to how that's going to affect the movie's continuity. When you've got people who are really polar opposites, like Snyder and Whedon kind of seem to be for what they do. Um, I know they're really just kind of Whedon said that he's not going to change anything. He's just going to try and direct the reshoots the way Snyder wanted it to. But they've all got their own style. So there's going to be some obvious spots in the movie where you go, okay, that's Snyder. Okay, that's Whedon. You can just tell, how that's going to go. So, um, I mean, look, I again have my doubts about any DC movie going forward. I did like Wonder Woman outside of the last third of the movie. I do think it was the best one that they've done so far as the modern day DC movies. Um, but that's not a great track record. It's what, 4 movies now? And I've only really liked one of the 4. When it came right down to it, I only thought one of the 4 was written in a solid fashion and not all over the place, and not just one of the 4 I thought was very well done as opposed to the other 3, which mediocre at best in my opinion. So, the things I see from Justice League, some of the trailer pieces we've seen so far, tough for me. I don't like the look of the Flash. I don't like the look of Cyborg. Personal opinions, but I don't know. I just don't know how well that one's going to go over. And I think if Justice League comes out and if Justice League comes out and looks like Suicide Squad, they're in a ton of trouble because there's just I don't think there's any recovering from taking what should be kind of your flagship movie like, Avengers was at the time, and having it turn out to a pile of garbage. It's going to really cause some problems. And if they have to reboot everything right now, how do you do that? Because you don't want to reboot Wonder Woman because it's your most successful character. But how do you change? Like, do you change Batman and Superman? Do you keep the actors and just kind of reboot their movie ideas? Like, how do you do that and not make things awkward? You can't keep Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman and then recast Batman and Superman and expect nobody to go, hey, wait a minute. You know what I mean? It's just I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you make that successful unless Justice League does well. All right. Okay. All right. As long as it's Grant Gustin showing up in the movie as the one who's rearranging everything, I'm with you. So all of a sudden goes, oh no, not again. I would take that. I'd be all right. Well, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, and that's and just throwing it kind of back to Marvel for a second. That's the one way I think you and I have talked about before is that how they could redo a lot of stuff for Phase 4. It's all the reality gems, one of the Infinity Gems. You can change reality. You can literally have something happen where Iron Man and Captain America become completely new actors and just say, "Oh, it's a reality gem. We just changed reality, became new people." And that's your way out. That's your loophole, as it were, to kind of make those changes if that's what you want to do. So that would be the DC way to do it. Would be a Flashpoint type of setup. Yeah, it makes sense. My fear for them is with the Batman and Superman movie that made it look like, excuse me, really makes it look like they're leaning towards trying to do some of the Injustice storyline in the movies. I just think that's just too dark to do. And I love those comics. Those comics are fantastic, and it would be awesome to see. But people were already mad that Superman kills Zod. Spoilers in Man of Steel. You know, Yeah, exactly. You can make it by now. The spoilers are not. This is not your. This is not my fault. Suck it up. Um, but the people are mad that he killed people in that. The amount of people he kills in the Injustice comics, people would lose their minds over that. So I just can't see that being that way. Oh yeah. Yep. 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 Look, I'd be perfectly okay if they want to have him punch his hand through the chest of Jared Leto's Joker to get rid of that awful abomination version of the Joker from the DCEU. I'm all right with that. Another spoiler, by the way, from the Injustice comics: Superman punches Joker through the chest. Happens in like the first two issues, so get over it. Yeah, yeah. It is a lot. That and the other one that you were using for a while with the I don't know who the character is, but it's different character doing the same thing as the Joker. I've seen you put a couple times. That's the one. Um, but I'd be okay with that just because, look, I like Jared Leto as an actor. I do not like him as the Joker. It was awful. But again, you know, but that if that's the direction they're really trying to look to go at, that's going to be rough to pull off. Just because of the premise of the comics of basically Superman becoming a world dictator and Batman leading a group trying to overthrow him, you know, to give the world its freedom of choice back. I can't see people because the majority of people see Superman as almost the Captain America of the DC universe, the Boy Scout who's just there to save the world, not enslave it. So I don't see how that would work. No, no. It would make a great animated series. They could do that for sure. It'd be fantastic. And I still think one of the things they could do that would actually help save the DCU cinematic universe, grab Matt Ryan and do a Constantine movie. I mean, that guy was fantastic on the TV show. He was awesome. You took that guy and gave him free reign in the movie to say whatever he wanted, do whatever he wanted, you know, put him on the same kind of path, but with you could even do the DC rated R movie that they've been trying to do for some of these. It would be awesome. It would be really, really good because that guy would be fantastic. And I think that would really help get people back to really, really enjoying the DC side. It would almost be like a rated R Doctor Strange on the DC side. It would just be more demons, more demons and possessions and what stuff like that. But it would be awesome, and that guy would just be amazing at doing that. So, but what do I know? No, no, and look, and I like the Constantine movie. I always have liked the Keanu Reeves Constantine movie. It's a fun movie, but he's just, look, Constantine's British. Keanu Reeves wasn't even remotely British in the movie. You know, I think he kind of had the character mannerisms and stuff down. He had the energy, like you're about to say, he had the energy and stuff down. But it's not the same. Matt Ryan on the show looked like Constantine, sounded like Constantine, acted like you would have expected Constantine to act. He would just be great in a full length feature Constantine movie. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. So the character they're showing you in that image in the bottom corner, they've mentioned before that he's in the movie. Um, uh, when they showed the original clips, I guess it was maybe at Comic Con last year when they showed some of the quick clips they had, and it's Surtur. Surtur. I'm pretty sure they pronounce it Surtur. Surtur. Which is just he's been a major character from what I remember from reading the Thor comics as a kid. In the Thor world, he's basically a fire demon who's like a bazillion feet tall and carries a huge sword with him, and is just basically badass. Who is constantly trying to kind of usurp Asgard and take things over from there. I don't remember a whole lot else about the character outside of the mere size of it. It's legitimately it's supposed to. I think it's like like over 100 feet tall. Just this massive, massive fire demon thing. And the image they have as the Funko, if that's how it's going to look in the movie, is going to be awesome. And actually, I'm looking up here on Wikipedia trying to get a better idea of some things. It actually says he stands over 1,000 feet tall. So you get the idea of it's just this massive fire demon, with massive strength and durability, and can control fire and manipulate molecules as far as certain. This is transforming his fingers into serpents, things like that. It's they usually kind of show him on par with power of Odin. So is a massive, massive, powerful beastie. Um, and from what I remember, the image that they say is from the trailer, from the quick clips they showed in Comic Con, is it ended with them showing Surtur on the screen, and in the middle of the screen is this image of the Hulk jumping towards him like he's going to punch it, kind of thing. So this I need to see. I'm hoping something comes out after Comic Con this year. More of a trailer, more Thor stuff we need to start seeing soon. Which I imagine we'll start getting more stuff soon now that Spider-Man is out. Those trailers aren't going to show up anymore. We're going to start seeing more Ragnarok stuff. That's only in November at this point. That'll be tomorrow. The way this year's going so far. You know, so I can't wait to see it because it's a cool character. It's always been a nasty sumbitch in the comics. I think adding it to the movie is gonna look pretty sweet if they do it right. Kind of, it'll probably end up looking more like kind of a Dormammu did in Doctor Strange with that kind of size reference to Strange. But I think it'll have more of a embodiment, an actual body to it, as opposed to just being the face in the sky kind of thing. Yeah. But it looks that Funko character looks pretty sweet if that's what it looks like in the movie. Yeah. Like a 6 inch. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they make it a bigger one because it is the size of the characters that matter. It's just this huge beast. So, so yeah, so that's kind of cool. Like, these people are annoyed that that popped up, but if you've read anything on the movie, you know it's alright. It's been from the previous trailer they talked about. So we'll see. See what they add. That's right. It's not our problem. That's right, buddy.